know if I've talked to you about making soap yet. It's one of my favorite hobbies. Hello, welcome back. I hope you had a good week. We've been having some wonderful spring weather, so it's been great to get outside and let the kids play and run around and dig in the dirt. And it's been good for me too to get some fresh sunshine. The sun's starting to feel warm again, which is always a wonderful, wonderful time of year when spring is promised and it's so close. It's almost here. But this week I got to do some soap making, which was good. It's been a while since I've made soap, so we were starting to run low on our bars of soap. And if you've never made soap, it's one of my favorite hobbies. I joke that it's the perfect, not really procrastinators hobby, but if you have trouble finishing a project, it's the perfect project because the last like 25% of the project is letting the soap cure. And so you do the first part and it takes like an hour or two, and then you just put it away and let it cure for a couple weeks, well, several weeks to several months, and voila, you have beautiful soap. So I made some salt soap, which is one of my favorites, and then also just a normal batch of soap. Both of them I use lemon essential oils to scent, so everything smells nice and lemony and fresh in the house. I also added some eucalyptus, which is one of my husband's and my favorite scents. So the salt batch has the eucalyptus in it and just smells just so fresh and new and wonderful. And so the salt soap, I added just a little bit of gold pigment. It's really hard to see in these, but as you start to use it and the water wears it down, it starts to kind of show, you see different swirls of the gold as the soap wears away, kind of like a stone in the river where you see just different patterns in the stone as the water wears the stone down. So it's kind of fun to see what patterns are hidden inside the soap because you can't see it on the outside. I love the salt soap. It's just slightly exfoliating because it's fine grained sea salt that I added into it, and so it's not hard like a pumice soap where you feel your skin really coming off, and it's good for really dirty hands. I like it for just any everyday washing. And whether or not the salt is actually doing anything for my skin, I love using a salt soap, and it's been a couple years since I made a salt batch, and I've since used up all of the soap from that batch, and so I'm excited to have some salt soap. And then I also made a normal batch of soap. This one I used olive oil and tallow and avocado oil and cocoa butter. So it has some oils with very moisturizing properties. It's 75% olive oil, which makes it technically a Bastille soap. There's different classifications of soap. Castile is a 100% olive oil, but specifically Castile is, if it's going to be marketed as a true Castile, it's actually from the Castile region in Spain, and usually they're aged for 5 years. So true Castile bar is that. Bastille, I think, is just a kind of made-up term someone came up with to call a soap that's mostly olive oil but has a couple other oils. And so that's what this is. I added the gold pigment in this one too, and also used a little bit of yellow Brazilian clay, which doesn't come through very much. You have a nice yellow tint to it, and then the gold pigment pops through in kind of the marbling. But it's fun to mix colors with soap because you kind of just play around. Some people are incredible at it and can make some incredible designs. They know exactly how to work the different colors and liquids together to make these marvelous designs. I usually do kind of a hit or miss thing. So with this one I poured in just a plain white soap, and then I sprinkled gold pigment on top, and then added the yellow clay to some more of the soap mix and poured that on top, and used a spoon to kind of mix them around and swirl them. And so the swirls that you see are because of the spoon dipping it in and down through the layers. And So you don't always know exactly what it's going to look like, but the spoon usually gives you kind of these chunky swirls. And I only make soap a couple times a year, so I don't get a ton of practice. But it's fun to have kind of a mystery when you go to cut the clay or cut the soap and find out what it looks like on the inside. Sometimes it looks absolutely incredible, and I hope that I can replicate it. And sometimes I go, well, I'll be keeping those bars for myself, and I'll do different ones for Christmas. So that was my project. Hopefully I will do some more soap. It's one of my, I love doing homemade gifts for people that are kind of consumable products, not something that you have to store and keep or feel guilty because you threw it away. And so soap is one of those things that I like to make because it's a little bit unique. It's not the same as every other kind of homemade do-it-yourself present, and it's something that you can really be creative with it, but it also doesn't take a lot of time to do it. So it took me about 2 hours to make 2 batches of soap, and now they'll cure for, technically they need 4 to 6 weeks before you want to use them. I like to let them cure for a couple months or more. I feel like it gets, any of the excess liquids have a longer chance to evaporate out, and you get a harder bar of soap, and it doesn't dissolve in the water quite as quickly as a newer bar of soap. So I like getting my bars for Christmas presents made. Usually my goal is to make them by June. So I got 2 batches done today, which are going to be most likely for personal use and give to a couple friends. But then I need to make plans for Christmas soaps. So those will be in the next couple months. I'll start making my Christmas soaps. If you want to learn how to make soap, I would recommend finding someone locally that you can make a batch of soap with, either enrolling in a soap making class or finding a friend that knows how to do it. Because you're using lye, which is very dangerous and caustic and can seriously injure you or potentially kill you if you use it really wrongly. I think it's important to actually have some hands-on instruction, and just so you can see someone else's process who has been doing it for years. I was lucky enough to have a coworker who knew how to do cold process soap, and so she let me do a couple batches with her before I started doing it myself. And then once I started, I didn't look back, and I've been doing it for years now. But it's really fun. There is a little bit of an overhead just with the supplies that you need, and so it's something where, especially if you know someone who does it, I highly recommend doing it with them and seeing, is it something that you do want to invest your funds and time in, or is it something that you want to pay a friend to do? But I really do enjoy it, and it is a lot of fun. So I will post a couple links down below of some soap makers online who have some really good tutorials. But again, I think it's best if you find someone in person to do it with. Just then you learn all of their little tips and tricks, and I think the hands-on in-person learning is just better. But sometimes it's not always possible. So I'll put some links down below, and I hope you enjoy them, and whether you're just enjoying looking at the pictures or you think you might want to start making soap yourself. But I hope you have a good week, and I'll talk to you later.